There's a big tanky boy by the fireplace glow, with a laugh like thunder and a voice deep and low. He's got stories carved in the lines on his face, from the mountains he's climbed to each wild distant place. And his friends gather round as the embers burn bright, the shadows all dancing in the soft golden light. They know when he starts they'll be here for a while, 'cause his tales always end with a roar and a smile. Oh, tanky boy, spin your stories tonight. Let the fire spark the memories shining so bright. We're together, we're laughing, everything feels right. Living our life in the glow of the firelight. He tells of battles fought with nothing but will, of rolling like boulders down cold stony hills, of friends he once carried when the storms rolled in fast, and how every tough moment became a tale to last. Now the night air is warm with the sound of their cheer, every voice lifted up, every heart gathered near. In the circle of warmth all the worries feel small. This tanky boy's stories are bonding them all. Oh, tanky boy, spin your stories tonight. Let the fire spark the memories shining so bright. We're together, we're laughing, everything feels right. Living our life in the glow of the firelight. And the stars overhead seem to wink at the crowd, as the tanky boy boasts proud and humble and loud. They clap and they tease him, but they love every word. His tales are the heartbeat of nights like these shared. Oh, tanky boy, keep your stories alive, 'cause they carry us through and they help us survive. With our friends gathered close, feeling joyful and free in this life. By the fire there's no place we'd rather be.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome. I have returned. I was supposed to stream last night, but sadly, the fucking internet broke. It was beep, beep, beep. Well, I'm at least here now, and I hope all of you have had a great day, and as now, as night has come, settling in to rest. And I see, hello, Kamehameha. It is good to see you again. I was in your stream earlier while you were playing Zomboid. That seems like a fun game. And that looks like a Christmas zombie story when? Probably, don't know. But I know if I can get enough beans, they would love to come on CampFire Tails. I would love to do around the campfire stories. And each one of the little beans here that will come onto CampFire Tails to tell a story of their own, to share a story of their life, something that would either entertain, make people laugh, or something that would give a happiness to others. And I would have to make sure, one, all the stories are to be safe, not to scare, to frighten, or to go, well, I didn't know you were into that. But to invite those in from the dark to the fire to share their stories and parts of them as well. But yes, while trying to get home and trying to get everything else operational, I forgot two things. One, I forgot to open the breath mint, the lozenges. Because I found out the more I talk, the hoarse my voice gets. And having a little bit of something to pop in the throat to prevent you from locking up, I can't speak no more. It comes in handy. And, who knows, perhaps one day. Yes, normally how the voice works. Blah, 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 blah. Isn't that how it is for those of us who spend all our time talking and yakking and doing the yakky yak? Well, let's see up here. Any special functions I can do? No. That won't work. Dang. Still cannot do the functions I want. It must mean that I need to get off my big armored ass and finally submit the paperwork. I know I've been talking about it for a long time, but let's face it, procrastination is my stupid disability. The power of, well, I swore I was going to do it, and then I got distracted by working on someone's avatar, building my own, or the occasional, oh look, something shiny. Isn't that how it works these days? You tinker, you play, you make things great. And then when you make plans and think, today is the day I'm going to be useful. You know what happens? You sit on your big armored ass and watch The Witcher for 4 hours straight. Don't get me wrong, it is a good show, and I enjoy it immensely. I also kinda got procrastinated and started watching season 2 of Campfire Cooking in Another World. I can't help it. I'm drawn to the wholesome and wonderful animes. The ones that get you a little bit of comfort after a bad day. Especially the cooking ones. Like Restaurant to Another World. Work. You know, one day I wish to have the job where, like my brother, he does about 4.5 hours of work, followed by 3.5 hours of him tinkering on his computer. I want that job. I want a job where I can do about 5 hours of good work, followed by 3 hours of me just hobbying. I need to find out how to do that. I have not yet. But then again, if I'm able to get 8 hours of work done in 3, and basically make it look like I'm doing hard work, well. Oh well. Also, haha! I was able to get Stream Elements to work finally, thanks to our friend Fua. Although I do not have any noises or doodads yet, I will have to learn how to build those next. Some little commands or doodads that a few of my friends will know, and only they would have access to. Because I know, for one, I want to build something special for Tas Unujabu. Something that would make four doodads are the best. Could you just imagine if I managed to win a skrunkle? A big old armored salamander going... I'd be stuck on my big armored ass going... Help, I've fallen and I can't get up. Get the forklift. It's no longer Hans and Franz gets the panzer. Hans and Franz get the big armored dumbass off his butt. Skrunked. But what would you call a skrunkle tinky boy? A skrinky? A trunkle? A trunkle. Yes, a trunkle. Oh, there I am in my big armored trunkle. But yes. Well, last time on CampFire Tails, I was finally able to belt out one story that has been taking me 3 tries to finally get out. And this time, for the first couple stories, well, they're going to be the whodunits. Because, well, Unda's having good stories to relax and to enjoy by. Sometimes, a little mystery and a little bit of work to help the brain unwind from the day's hullababa is good. To let the cogs slowly work their way and their functions out while you are relaxing and listening to a story. And if that blasted window does not continue to frown up, all right. But I still have a few more minutes of intro to fill to hopefully have a few beans show up. And have the 2 beans I actually was able to moderate to come in and, I don't know, get ready when ye old clinker arrives. 'Cause if a clinker comes around, I'm ready. And I clicked on the wrong window. You may have Barnhammer. I have Bolter. Although, if Landon never got a hold of it, you'd see that friggin' dozer going, bye, bye, bye. But oh well. And back into the magic of void you go. That was my backpack, not my bolter. There. Magic. Or at least for those out there. How he makes things disappear in the VR. Now. Trying to make sure I'm in range. The camera is maybe a little closer. Right there. Alright. Well, since we're waiting for a few more beans to wander in and join us here for the stories, once again, I hope you've had a wonderful day. And now that it is nighttime, I thank you for coming here to hear the stories and to get ready for bed. And listening to a 400-year-old salamander may not be the best thing for you. I thank you for coming at least. But with all the hullabub away, and the silliness aside, let us get to the first whodunit story of tonight. We will have 2. The first one is called Motor City Metal. And the second, The Bakery Botch Job. And for a whodunit one, let us go into a little bit of make-believe and imagination. Up course near Motor City, there is a museum. A rock and roll museum dedicated for the bands of the 80s. That's right, the hair metal days. Where if your axe was wild and crazy and your hair was as big as a frickin' shop hay, you were making it in the industry. And one in particular, ran by an old rock star by the name of Charlie. Well, Charlie may never have made it truly as big as many other rockstars. He traveled the country with his band, was an open gig for many of the greats. And unfortunately, after a bad incident, why he took a fender to the knee. He knew it was time to step down, but still wanting to be in the industry, still wanting to provide a little something. He opened Metalhead's Museum. It was a modest museum, although, thanks to Charlie's connections in the music world, they did have some wonderful things. But also to bring in some additional revenue, because a heavy metal museum is nice. But also being able to walk away with a brand new guitar is just as great. Come and see the exhibits. Walk away with your own bit of heavy metal musician. Well, while everyone else would come into the show and see the new guitars, go into museum, the prize piece was none other than a 57 Fender original. This thing was beautiful, red and white, ivory white for the pickguard, a candy apple red for the main body with a little bit of metal flakes. This thing was in immaculate condition, and it was gifted to Charlie by one of his dearest friends. And it was the center point for the guitars of those heavy metalists, those rockers, who came, rocked as hard as they could. But unfortunately, time took from us. While working here, he employed 4 individuals besides himself. First, Bryce, a want-to-be rapper and down on his luck. Most days, his greasy hair is pulled in front of his face. The makeup he wears almost makes him look starch white, and he wears this gaudy black lipstick. Well, if you've gone rock, it doesn't mean you have to look like you're not looking like a freaking zombie. Next up, Ray. Ray is a young woman who was a vocalist, and turns out is actually Charlie's niece. While she is talented, she is still too green to be anywhere else. While she doesn't like the fact she works for her uncle in this old fuddy-duddy museum filled with old rockers and stuff, she still appreciates he allows her access to a recording booth that's inside of this place. Although she is, unfortunately, like most beginning in the industry, racking up a bit of debt. Next is one of Charlie's old bandmates, Bruce. G'day, Bruce. Bruce is actually an Australian transplant from down under. A quietly old man with a sardonic laugh and a sense of humor to match. He remembers, as he put it, I remember when we used to basically do a gig for $50 and a flat of beer. And 9 times out of 10, we split the beer for the party. Well, Bruce may not appear like he's much, but he moves as if he's a man a third of his age. I guess it's true what they say about us Australians. Older they get, well, they don't change. They just get a little more crazy. And last, but not least, the Silver Bell of Metalhead's Museum. Miss Agnes. Agnes is a diamond in the rough. While she works here mostly to pay for her college and have a few bucks, she has a silver voice. And sometimes Charlie has found her in the recording booth, singing but not metal. Something beautiful, even he doesn't have his way of describing it. But she is one in a million, you could say. But unfortunately, like all whodunits, something has happened. When Charlie arrived early one morning, let's say about 10 o'clock, because let's face it, no rock star's gonna get up at the crack of dawn. He was shocked and bewildered. Because the front door on his museum was torn open. He ran inside, looked around. He checked the showroom to make sure all of the instruments were still there. Thankfully, all instruments are stored in these unique steel cabinets that will fold into the wall and seal flat. A particular palm print has to be used to unlock them, so they would unlock and pop open, so you could open the doors and allow the people to have access. While on the seam looked like someone had used a pry bar trying to get access to the instruments, the guitars, some of the drums, all of the equipment that was hidden behind there. It looked as if the robbers had got fed up and left. But Charlie remembered the Hall of Rock, the Hall of Metal. He ran to where the exhibits were, and his heart shrunk. Or his heart fell, more like it. Most of the exhibits had been smashed. And at the end of the hall was the most debris. As if whoever had broken decided to not only desecrate this hall of metal, but also try to gain access to the museum's most prized purchase, most prized item, that old Fender, the white and candy apple red one. While it was in a secure case, most would have to work hard for. He looked around, saw bunches of trash and dissevered detritus. Whoever had come in here not only knew their way around, but they knew how to disable the security system, and had spent long enough to destroy and damage the case to get access to this old guitar. And after calling in the police and all of his employees, one by one they were questioned, and one by one each said that they were not here. His niece, Ray, was over town. She actually had a small singing gig. Although there was not enough people there to really make note of her. His good friend Bruce. Bruce apparently had gotten a little bit drunk and passed the folk out. Well, where was he? Nobody knows. Miss Sonia apparently said she was at church. And Wayne, the little greasy shithead, wasn't saying shit. So, who wants to take a guess at who could it have been before I give a few little clues to help you find out? But, who could it have been? Any random guesses for right now? A few random ponderies or queries. Who could have been this one? The one who did the deed or caused mischief? Well, since there are no possible who could be done, let me give you access to a few clues. While the people that were there, they drank a lot of beer. Almost a full flat. Almost like what poor Bruce would get paid when he was on gigs. But in the world of rock and roll, many do drink. There's only very few teetotalers. Well, we can say for sure that oh fuck, I forgot her name. The one with the golden voice, the silver voice. If she was at church, she would not have been there. Anyways, she's a student. She's taking out many other things. But not the one could possibly be. So, any other ideas that could be there? To help eliminate her. Well, there were cans of hairspray. And a few cosmetics left behind. Well, if they're cosmetics, that rules out Bruce. While he might have been the years of glam rock, no self-respecting Aussie's gonna slap a bunch of milk upon him. And as for Miss Susan, if I remember the name, she would not wear such gaudy things. It wouldn't be right. So she would definitely be eliminated. Although, Bruce is still in the maybes, not fully clear yet. Hello, Amber Foxalotl. I hope you're doing well. It's good to see you. Let me refresh this really quick. My page has blundered. Why does it never truly show you who's in stream on a constant updated list? It always goes vzz. Oh well. But before I forget, and it would help if I pressed the right button. There, Miss Amber Foxalotl. If you like some games and some mischievousness from this little fox, give her a follow. She's a good bean and a friend. And for all my friends out there who may be watching, you are always welcome to come into the world that I am at. I make it a group instance. For those members of the Valley Group can come, visit, sit by the campfire, or at least explore this wonderful world. And for those who are wondering where I am at one of my favorite. I'm at the hot springs world of one of my favorites. Mostly because of the fireworks and the hot springs down below. Right. Whoops. There. Much better. I'm going to have to talk with Inu, or maybe Kara, how to fix my trackers. For some reason, my top and bottom want to go there. But isn't that a way of life? Your head once goes this way, your ass once goes that way. Oh well. Back to the story, of course. Well, we know it wasn't Susan. She doesn't drink, and she doesn't wear these type of gaudy cosmetics. And so she's in the clear. Now, as for Bruce, appears I might have to recalibrate here in a minute, but okay. As for Bruce, he's still a suspect. Possibly. Now, what else could we do to reduce who could it be? Let's take a closer look at some of the items that were left behind. The beer cans, or the cans of beer that were left behind, they're cheap. Almost what a roadie would get paid, or those who'd work for very little. But not cheap enough for our friend Bruce, or not in what he would drink. Well, that would excise Bruce from who's left. The last two is Ray and Dwayne. Sadly enough, Ray and Dwayne both wear gaudy makeup on their face. Both look like they're pale as sheets. Now, let me believe. But what could possibly be the deciding factor? Who could be instead? But wait. Does Ray only just wear the makeup? But what about the lipstick? We know Dwayne has long, greasy hair. He paints his face as white as a ghost, and he puts on this ridiculously black lipstick. Well, Ray has her hair pulled back in a tight bun or in a braid. The only true thing would be checking it out. Unfortunately, one of the tubes, a tube of possible lipstick, was bent and broken. So to truly discern the color, you would have to read what was inscribed. But strange enough, while it might be a generic brand, the name is of the particular color is called Nevermore. Nevermore. But why does that sound so familiar? Nevermore. Would anyone out there like to take a guess? What could Nevermore mean? And what possible connection could it have? Quite well. If this old salamander remembers, Nevermore is a literary prance, a term, something from Edgar Allan's book or poem called The Raven. And so cried the raven, nevermore. But what would a raven and a lipstick color have in common? Wait, ravens are black. So if the color of the lipstick is black, there is only one possible solution left. The culprit is Dwayne. I guess it doesn't pay to be a crappy rapper in a hall of metal. And as for Dwayne, as he will learn one day, all is forgiven except for those who defy the will to rock. Well, that story is done, and who done it? Well, I hope though at least you out there are enjoying it a little bit. And let us see. Let us move about this. Oh, crap. I keep hitting the wrong damn button. Well, we're up here and in this world. And if memory serves me. The world, now that I remember, is nostalgic winter nights. And since this is, of course, winter, and among other things, this world is one of my favorites. Because once you turn off the world music, which is nice, but it kind of gets kind of drony after a while. You wander around and you look. And you explore. But the one thing I love most about this is the sounds of this world. The burbling creek, the bubbling hot springs, and of course, when you go into the rooms, the hot pot. As someone who likes to cook, I will tell you this much. If I walked into a house and there was a bubbling hot pot ready there for me, I would be happy. Sadly, this is virtual reality, and this is just going to make me hungry. Well, as nice as that is, let us find a place for the next story. Someplace a little nicer. And perhaps not so dark. Yeah. There we are. I've got a little bit of lighting now, and I'm somewhat more better visible. Or little visibler. Now, for our second story tonight. Is the Baker Bandits. At least I remember that's what it was. Unfortunately, my list of stories I left at work in my locker, like a complete schmuck. Oh well. But I now remember enough about the story, at least till we get to the big one for the night. And that one, it may take a good long while. At least till break time. Or at least this one hopefully will push us to the break, and I can at least get a drink. Or sit down and yak with you all. Before the big story. And if I could just get my frickin' canteen open, I would be dangerous. Wowzers. Well, it does quench the thirst. Wowzers! Cranberry juice wakes you the fuck up. Woo! Boo! All right. For the Baker Bandits, let us go to a small city, like many of ours we've seen. There is a family-run bakery, one that has been there for several generations. One... What is going on with my shoulders? One that has been family-run for many years. The family that's run it this is a bakery going back 3 generations. One of the old ones, the great ones. A bakery that has some of the best treats. The ones we all remember when we were growing up. When you go inside, there'd be that big glass display case, and you look at all the goodies. And you can't help but feel that nostalgic pull. The owner is not young anymore, an older woman by the name of Gladys. Her husband and her ran this bakery for many years until, unfortunately, he passed away. The old ticker, while as strong as it can be, can also be your worst friend. Especially if the verse comes to pass. Well, besides Gladys, there's 2 of her grandsons, Jonathan and Henry. Both are polar opposites. While Jonathan is loud and boisterous and likes to brag a lot, Henry, he is the type who has always kept quiet and his nose to the grindstone. Always working hard, always trying to one-up and prove. Sometimes your actions do speak louder than words. And I'm currently getting a message. The last 2, well, last 2 are a pair of recent hires. A pair of young kids trying to at least earn some money, and apparently working at a bakery thought was a good idea. Although, the old saying of remember how hard it was when we were young. Oh boy. Well, as the day-to-day operations will go, Gladys would arrive first, followed by her 2 sons, Henry and Jonathan, and the last 2 new hires. Let's just call them A and B for now, because I don't feel like coming up with more names I'm going to forget. Well, as many of them times as every day to do, Gladys would always go forth into the company's safe and retrieve her family's cookbook, one that has grown throughout the years, one that has always contained the secrets of each of the recipes, ones that were fine-tuned by each generation and each member of the family. While the bakery had only been open for 3 generations, the book had gone back closer to 12. And believe you me, the range of treats and goodies in that one would boggle the mind. Recipes that are handcrafted and made for over the years. But let's put that aside, because we've already got what could possibly be stolen. Believe you me, all of Gladys's competitors have been trying for years to steal the recipes, to take what does not belong to them. Isn't that a kick in the ass? You little rat bastards, trying to take what is not fully right for yours. Sometimes for payments, coercion, even sometimes having someone of a shady sort come to take away what was theirs. Well, indeed. Well, as many begins, Gladys would always retrieve it from the safe. And, as tradition, the cookbook would go to whoever was able to put the best recipe in it, regardless if it was family or friend. Well, since the cookbook controlled the bakery, and the bakery was dependent on it, you can bet when it came time for Gladys to finally get ready to retire, there were lines of people waiting to submit. But of course, it came down to 4 people. Henry, Jonathan, and the 2 new hires. Amazing, the new hires could come up with amazing things too. I wonder what they could do. Well, after each submitted their greatest and wondrous creation, Gladys secretly judged each, writing down her final judgment and putting it into the safe with the cookbook, because soon the bakery will be closing for the annual family picnic. All of the family would go out of state to a place to have a picnic, and of course all of the staff would go too. Well, thankfully, you think nothing bad would happen. But of course, like the old saying goes, no good deed goes unpunished. And for poor Gladys, that is about to be sadly true. Upon returning from the family picnic, they found that the bakery had been burgled. Although nothing had been stolen or broken or damaged, many of it had also been, well, let's just say, misappropriated. Enough of a mess to make it look like someone had broken in to cause chaos. But Gladys ignored all of the mess. She went right to the safe. The safe, who had its door opened wide. Oh my. Well, the funny thing about this is that whoever made the big mess in the bakery forgot a few simple things. 1. Never throw things in the air. It always comes down on you. And 2, you don't need the dust for footprints or dust for fingerprints. If people's hands are covered, no, well, not their fingers. If they somehow manage to get themselves covered in flour and begin walking places. So, we have our 5 characters. Let us begin to eliminate the suspects. We know it's not Miss Gladys. Miss Gladys is getting ready to retire and step down. Why would she want to steal what her family has built for generations? No, she wanted to leave it to the next generation, the ones who could use it most. So she is definitely immediately eliminated. The last 4. Jonathan, Henry, and let's just say Chef A and B. Interesting. Who could it be? Well, any guesses for right now? Before I start reviewing the clues? Any idea who could be the Pondry? The one who'd pause and cause a little hubbub. The one who stole the cookbook from the safe. But let us review. Jonathan is the eldest, the loud one, the one that always boasts and walks around saying, look at me, I'm peacocking now, look at this, look as I flack my ass around. We all know those type, the ones that like to go, look at me, I do no wrong, I can't do shit. Or I'm Mr. Perfect. And then he's his twin brother, or his younger brother, Henry. Henry is soft-spoken, does not say much, always watching, but always working to be better. While his brother is off hobnobbing, rubbing elbows, he's in the back, perfecting recipes and working for the next. But what about the new hires, A and B? Well, A is a young woman who just started culinary school, along with B, a young man along the same lines, both sharing a similar path. Could they have wanted to steal the book? To pay for the schooling? Possibly. Could they have wanted to take what? Could they be a plant by many of the businesses and companies that were trying to steal Gladys's family's cookbook? As told, that cookbook has lots, and I mean lots, of recipes from many generations, all of which has been made, perfected, and, yes, and honed to the most perfect version. Like I said, many would want it, but who? Who indeed? Well, so, let us review some of the clues. Remember how I said you need to be careful and make sure you don't throw things around? You might get covered in it. Well, fancy that. A large pair of footprints were leading in to the office where the safe was kept. Footprints covered in flour. Well, what is so special about these footprints? Well, we'll have to find out. And, of course, they're messing with all that flour. They got it all over themselves and their hands. So there's big old handprints everywhere. Ah, handprints. But unfortunately, no fingerprints. Because of how, well, some people in culinary fields will have to wear a rubber glove. Part of the serve safe process. So this way, all of your 10 fingers and toes. Is this a rerun? No, Dr. Katz, this is actually a live broadcast. Hello and welcome. I am Exelius, and welcome to CampFire Tails. Right now, we're going through... I don't know, man. Well, right now, we are going through one of this channel's little favorite things called whodunits. Little stories that are prone to make you think and wonder. As in, while you're listening to the story, you have to figure out who is the culprit behind the crime. And as we work through it, I reveal clues and tidbits. Who could possibly be the right one? And welcome, Carrot Jack. Welcome to CampFire Tails. As I previously stated, I am Exelius, and welcome. Here at CampFire Tails, I like to tell stories for all of those coming in from the night. And just saying, greetings and welcome. No, this is not a rerun. My name is Exelius. I am the humble storyteller here, and welcome to CampFire Tails. And for all three, no, this is not a rerun. I tried my best to find stories to either I have read, or wrote myself, or come across in my... Get my boy, hold on. I will warn you, just saying. This is an 18 plus stream, only because I will occasionally use curse words. It is not that I'm trying not to, but sometimes I like to at least throw them down to, well, let us say, you can't help but drop the F-bomb occasionally, especially if you want to get the point across or tell a funny. We running somewhere? No, Clank, we are not. I'm currently working through what is called whodunits. This just channels a little bit of mystery and pondering areas. The type of, how do I say it? The type of thinking or story that makes you think and ponder. A really good mystery of understanding how, what, and who. You'll get the list of people who could possibly be called the culprits, some clues, and then working possibly to the inevitable end of the culprit who caused the action or crime. After that, we usually switch over to either telling a few good campfire stories, or sometimes we'll just yak for a while, to at least see how you've all doing, to see how your day has been, to see, well, how everyone is doing out there. Because let's face it, with the way the world is now, when was the last time you stopped and talked to someone and said, hey, how are you doing today? And I hope you're well. Well, at least I hope so. But, back to the story. Just saying, thank you for following. And hey, but you know, the alert worked this time. Ha! I was able to fix it. And... what does that say? Carrot Jack! Thank you for following. Holy crap, I'm getting a bunch of them. And Clank. 121. Welcome to CampFire Tails, and I welcome you all. And thanks, holy shit, I'm getting a bunch more. And Dr. Katz. Welcome you all to CampFire Tails. I thank you for the follow, and I welcome you all. Well, I will admit, that was a first. Sometimes you get people to follow, sometimes you don't. But, good granny, we have another. Rainfeather, welcome to CampFire Tails. I'm Exelios, and oh boy, am I going over the same stuff multiple times. Oh boy. Normally I only have 4 or 5 people tuned in. Holy crap, I've got 10. Well, hopefully, we can get back to the story, and I hope, well, I might as well start this one from the beginning, since we have so many new people here tonight. And don't worry, I'll be quick. This story is what we'd call here at CampFire Tails a whodunit. I give you a bit of a story, some people who could have done something, and you think about who could have possibly done it. So, crazy, I know. So, let us start from the beginning. This one is called Bakery Bandits. Our main characters are Gladys, an old woman getting ready to retire who's owned this bakery for many years, who ran it with her husband, who unfortunately also passed away while running this place. She runs it with her 2 children, Jonathan and Henry. And the other 2 individuals that also work there are new hires. Unfortunately, we're going to call them A and B. Only because, trust me, I misplaced my notebook, and trying to keep a track of about a dozen names is a pain in the buttocks. But, as the story begins again, and I just hit the wrong button, Gladys has run this bakery for many years. And even better, the cookbook that she draws from runs back several generations in her factory. Each generation of chefs and cooks entering things in it that have been perfected to the best possible version. And every day she takes the cookbook, places it into a safe, and locks it tight, so that it is always guarded and always kept safe. Her two sons, Jonathan and Henry, both are unique individuals by themselves. Both work very hard. Jonathan is a bit of a bragger and a very outgoing, an extrovert, one who likes to laugh and tell everything and try to impress everyone around him. While Henry is a polar opposite. He's more of an introvert. He likes to keep to himself, keep to what he's doing, and work hard. He'd rather let his actions speak for himself than what he would say. And as for the other two, A and B, A is a young woman who came here to work at the bakery while in college. As same for B, a young man who also came here to work. They are both fairly new in the industry, and while working here, they are trying to pay their way. Well, Gladys, who has ran this bakery for many years with her family, is getting ready to retire. And as part of the tradition of this bakery, whoever can bake or create the best dish not only will have it written down and entered into the cookbook, but the one who does, will get the cookbook itself and the control of the bakery. Well, as our four contestants, each worked exceptionally hard, building, crafting, and cooking the most amazing dishes you can imagine. Fantastical things. Wondrous, I could only describe, even words would fail to what they made. But imagine the most beautiful, tastiest thing you've ever had, and times it by 10. Well, after Gladys took each dish, ate a little bit, wrote down her thoughts, she'd finally come up with one possible winner. She wrote it down, put it into the top cover of the cookbook, put it into the safe, and locked it tight. Because they were about ready to continue on to their family trip. A trip where not only her family, but the entire bakery staff and their family would go off to have a big picnic, a little bit of laugh, relaxation, and fun. Because, you see, at this bakery, Gladys knew each and every member here is not just an employee, they are family. And of course, after everything was said and done, and Gladys came home, she went to go open the bakery one day and was completely horrified. The main doors were broken open. Although nothing inside the display area had been damaged, she quickly went into the bakery's main floor, and there was a mess everywhere. Ingredients splayed all over the place. Flour sprung all over the floor. As she quickly surveyed what around her, she quickly ran up to the main office. The main where the safe could possibly be. And of course, when she got up there, her heart fell. There stood the safe, with its door open and contents emptied. Contents including her family's cookbook. Now, since we have some more beans in here, any early guesses who could possibly have been out of our 4, or maybe 5? Who could have been the one who made off with all of that was there? The ones who stole the cookbook? Well, let us review our subjects. We have GLaDOS, Henry, Jonathan, and A and B. 5 individuals. 5 who could have done something silly. Well, we know that GLaDOS, she's getting on in years, and she was hoping to leave the bakery to someone worthy. Someone worthy to accept it and to carry on the family tradition. Someone who would make and continue on their family's tradition of making the most beautiful creations. So we know it wasn't her. It wasn't in her nature nor what she was wanting. So she is immediately eliminated from the possibles. What about Jonathan, Henry, and A and B? Well, since those are the 4 possible, how about some more clues? You know what they say, those who cook must be very careful with what they do. Because one mishap and everything gets anywhere. Sometimes on you, sometimes on your hair, your hands, your feet. Well, in this case, what did you know it? Flour that was all over the floor had been walked through. There were footprints. Footprints walking all the way through the bakery up to the office where the safe was. This was good. They know that someone they could probably guess where the footprint is. But not only that, there were handprints, white handprints on the safe. Yes, they could call the police and get a fingerprint. Sadly, once the police came, collected some evidence, and checked the palm prints or handprints on the safe, there were no fingerprints. Because many, if you've ever worked in the culinary field, they will wear rubber gloves to help limit the chance of exposure or contact with things, to prevent contamination in what is being prepared. And to help limit possible exposure to anyone who's working with something that they might be allergic to. Like chefs. There are some chefs out there who are actually highly allergic to shellfish, but they must work with it on a daily basis. So they have to wear protective equipment. Well, no one here at the bakery might have been allergic to flour, sugar, and milk and egg. But there's enough rubber gloves on the floor to help conceal someone's fingerprints. So let's check the clues again. We have rather ostentatious footprints and now handprints. The strange thing is, the footprints are quite large, and so is the hands. Obviously, of someone who has been working with their hands for many, many years. As anyone who's ever worked in the mechanical, maintenance, or manufacturing, you will find out your hands will actually get bigger to accommodate the work. It does happen. I can confirm my own self. I've worked in a factory for over 10 years. And my hands, well, they've gotten bigger and stronger because of what I do on a day-to-day basis. And as for the footprints, I can confirm that too. Having to walk close to 5 to 6, hell, even 8 miles a day in a small factory, up and down stairs, moving around, crouching down, going places where I need to go to run my machines. It is a real pain. But I do it. Now as for the footprints, and the handprints, we can immediately eliminate 2 people from the equation. Remember what I said about people who have been and working in the industry for a long time, how their hands and feet might grow to adapt? To newbies. Ones that were just starting, the ones that are in school. Would their hands be as big as the fingerprints could be, or the handprints could be? I think not. So that also means we can eliminate them from the equation. So A and B are safe. Since they're very young and in school, in college and stuff, and have not been in the industry long enough, we know their body or hands have not grown strong enough to be that big. So, we are down to the last 2. Well, could there be any more possible clues? There was a mess and created everywhere. There were handprints and footprints walked through the flour. Aside from the footprints being big, but possibly. Perhaps the thread or markings in the footprints. Do you believe so? Well, it could be the deciding factor that might show who or what stole the cookbook. Well, after taking a look at the footprints and the ones up in the office, it was shown that the footprints, or the prints left behind by the flour, the thread on the bottom of the feet were actually quite well in shape. As if the shoes worn by whoever did this were either brand new or hardly used. Now, with that being said, who could it possibly be the culprit? Was it Jonathan or Henry? Please, before I reveal, throw a comment into the chat. Let me know who you think it could possibly be. Could it be Jonathan or Henry? I've already told you the personality types. So, I will leave you to think for a moment before I reveal. I'm gonna grab me a drink of water because my throat is starting to hurt. Yes, for only those who wish to get into VR, I do recommend, aside from if you have a Quest, or if you like me have a PC and setup, you won't believe it, but a good sturdy canteen is always a good friend, because you will get thirsty, believe me. Alrighty then. Well, since I've given you all a few minutes to figure out who could possibly have done this, possibly who and what, it is time to reveal. Remember how I said Henry, even though he was an introvert, he always allowed his actions to speak louder than his words, which means he was always working hard, moving about the bakery, working to create everything. And then there was Jonathan, one that would stand around most days, laugh, tell jokes, make everyone pay attention to him like a little peacock, flapping his wings and going, "Oh, look at me, shake my peacock." But, with that being said, I think we know who the culprit is. And that culprit was Jonathan. Apparently, even though he was quite the talented baker, he could not stand losing to his brother. Losing what he wanted most. And in the end, well, what do you know? In the end, he lost everything. Well, so that ends it. That is the end of whodunits. We know Jonathan was the culprit who stole the cookbook. But Henry was the one who worked hard and tried to earn it. Well, to any of the newcomers here, if you're curious, I am in a world called Nostalgic Winter Nights. It is a unique world here in VR that I enjoy coming to many times. Mostly because, one, as you can see, it has a wonderful snowfall. And two, let me see if I can grab the camera. The view of the night is quite spectacular. It's quite beautiful. And apparently I done skewed the camera. And most importantly, it is quite relaxing. If I turn off the music, turn on the fireworks, snow and diamonds, and most times I will go down and enjoy myself. Speaking of which, since, well, Carrot Jack, you're one of the few that was able to comment.
Thank you, Jack. Believe it or not,
This is what you would call a stage voice. It is not my real one.
it is one I've worked on, tried to cultivate, and practiced multiple times. And yes, sometimes, as you can tell, it might fade or get stronger, because I'm still trying to get the endurance so that my vocal cords will be able to withstand, and I can do my voice for the entire duration of CampFire Tails.
Does that answer your question, my friend?
As I say, I'm Exelios, the storyteller. Or Exelios, the salamander. And if you must know, well, yes, for a long time I was into 40k. I enjoyed it most of all. I love the lore, I love the tales. I love some of the creations people would build. The kit bashing, the creations, all of that. Great voice actor for the Emperor. Yes. But sadly, I fear Games Workshop lost their way a little bit. They went from making a game for the players to making dividends for their investors. When they charge you $12 for a pot of paint, and then down the line they reduce the size of the amount of paint in that pot without changing the price, it is horrible. Or when they release a brand new box set
And it is literally maybe 30 figures at best for over $300. I'm a fan of 40K. I really do like it. And I wish, what Henry Cavill is trying to do. I want him to be in charge of it. Let him do his vision. Hell, me and my friends all believe he would either work great as a live-action Captain Titus. And yes, if you pay attention to 40K lore, Titus became a captain. Not only that, he is the Warden of Ultramar. Well, so much for that friggin', oh crap, what are they called? Bah! The priest with the skull mask. Asshole. See? I told you it was 8 plus 18. Him thinking, oh, Titus is a traitor because he's immune. No. We did learn reason why Titus can fight off the warp so well. Is he's one of the few, a soul that has no fear in it. On top, he was touched by the Emperor. Not in that way, but when the Emperor reaches out and touches someone's mind directly, it leaves an imprint. Now, sadly, I'm no longer I still tinker with and build models. I don't play anymore. I do the video games, and I do like reading and listening to some of the stories. But my breaking point was when I wanted to buy a set of Centurions, 3 figures. 3 little plastic figures that were monopose. $75. $75 for 3 little fragile hunks of plastic. On top of that, once you set the new rules, once you set a certain weapon type for them, you could not say, oh, technically that's not a siege drill. It's a blaster. No, it's a siege drill. Whatever you attach has to be that. I truly hope Henry Cavill revives Warhammer. What they did to him on The Witcher was horrible. Not because his views were different. Henry, let's voice it, Henry Cavill is a uber nerd. But not in a bad way. As in, if you strike if you're able to strike a conversation with him and immediately say, especially if you tickle one of his personal favorites, especially Warhammer, you might be sitting there and having a conversation with him for up to an hour. And that's what nerds do. You tickle our fancy, we're like, well, did you know about this? But yes, and if anyone curious, well, this is my own suit, my own armor. It was crafted and built by a wonderful friend of mine. An amazing artist, a fellow streamer, and most importantly, an outright wonderful soul. His name is Rika the Fink. If you catch him on Twitch when he is streaming, he's quite a wonderful soul. Very charismatic, very fun to listen to. And although I don't know if that certain soul is listening, I'm going to be a goober. What the? How in the heck did it jump scenes like that? I don't know. OBS, are you having a moment? Apparently OBS says, oh, you've been yakking for long. I'm going to end your bullshit.
or suddenly you decide, well, you're gonna do this bullshit. There. There's a channel, and there's a shout out. But let us wander through this world a little bit, so you at least get a bit of wonder. Let's just go back through here. Yes, there are many wonderful worlds in VR. Some fun, some creepy, but I like to keep to the ones that almost feel like you're walking into a storybook. A place of wonder, of amusement, and silliness. But as down here, at Nostalgia Winter Nights, I like to come down here. Down into the hot springs, down by the stream, and I listen to the world. As you can also hear, the sounds of the stream, the sounds of the hot springs, and exist. Come down here to where there's a little bath full of persimmons and other things. But yes, this is one of the many worlds I enjoy coming to. It is wondrous, it is fun, it's enjoyable. Alright. Oof. Speaking of which, there is some place I can park my armored ass for a little bit and sit down. Because sadly, my feet are beginning to hurt. It is the downside of someone who works 8 to 10 to 12 hours in a factory. After a while, your feet begin to hurt, unfortunately, and it just is one of those little things. Let's just come back up to the main area. Right up here to where the hot pot is. Alright. I'm going to sit down with this, with that. Move this down. Oh. Oof. Oh, the joys of getting older. I'm over 400 years old and all of my bits and pieces creak and pop. And I can tell my feet hate me right now. Holy crap. Well, we're about 1 hour and 30 minutes in. And, at least for tonight, let us get one good story done. One that would hopefully make many of you relax and many of you get ready for bed. Because here at CampFire Tails, we have a saying. Without stories, without your stories, you begin to lose your dreams. And without your dreams, how are you to strive to be better? So, with the time I have left, let us begin one simple story I was working on earlier. It may not be 100%, but I believe it will be good enough for all of you to hear tonight, to rest, to go to sleep by. And yes, while I do expect not many people to be here towards the end of CampFire Tails, mostly because the stories, I hope, help you relax enough to forget the pains of the day, and the sleep, to rest, and most importantly, to dream. So, let us begin with this little story. The main protagonist or character is a young boy by the name of Ryan. He lives in a world of a unique fantasy and creation. A place where young men, young boys and girls who try to get partnered to fantastical beasts and creatures. No, it is not Pokemon, because in this world, there's a risk of having your partnered creature perish. And unfortunately, those who combat outside of official means run the risk of that anyway. Well, Ryan is only about 13 and a half years old, and he was accepted to a battle school. Well, the sad part is, most who go and get accepted here are people of wealth, stature, or position. Ryan has none of these. He was sent to the school by his uncle as the last wishes of his mother and father. After they had worked their lives very hard, and unfortunately, their lives came to an end. He was told by his uncle that unfortunately he does not have a partner creature for him to take with him. He will have to rely either to find one or hope the school has one that they may use. And when he arrived at the battle school, many of the people there, many of the children, looked down upon him because he was of a low stature. Shame. If they only knew what he was capable of. On the first day, when he was walking into the creature stables for his first class, the stable masters asked everyone to put on the summoning gauntlet and bring forth the creature. Well, Ryan had a gauntlet, but no creature to summon. He told the Beastmaster, "I'm sorry, sir. I have no creature to summon." And the old Beastmaster that worked at the school knew this was annoying, but always capable and possible. Because there would always be a student that sometimes would work. And it happened to be the school had one in the stables that was there kinda as a permanent resident. Well, it was quite old. Very old. It was left with the school at hopes that someone would be able to unlock its true potential. But unfortunately, its particular species, they're not quite known for, let's say, combat capacity. The creature is nothing more than something called a gravenite. Imagine a living rock with a pair of tusks sticking out of its lower jaw and its eyes right above it. The funny thing about these creatures, doesn't matter what or where it comes from, there's a way you can tell its power level by the shade of the iris. The shade of its iris. Typically, gold or silver are considered the highest. And of course, with that being said, the lowest is of course gray, meaning the creature has little to no power to it. Or they just do not have any combat capacity. And of course, while this Gravenite did have some moves, some very good ones, its eyes were pretty much
almost looking at two gray slates. The Beastmaster assigned the Gravenite to young Ryan. Ryan, although he may have looked not much, he did have wisdom, and he did do a lot of research about the certain creatures, and he knew that the three primary weapons or attacks for a Gravenite was simply gravity well, shock cannon, and its greatest defense, Grand Fortress. But there's a problem with Gravenites, you see. They can't move on their own. Sure, when they fire a shock cannon, it knocks them back or around. They are mostly used as what you would call punching bags of these worlds. Punching bags for other trainers to level up their beasts, to help them get stronger. But unfortunately, this Gravenite, aside from its age and the fact it had grey eyes, stone-grain eyes, everyone believed it to be truly weak. But one thing about Ryan you must know is he's a young man who never thinks inside of a box. Who always wonders if the potential of a battle companion is only limited by its partner's imagination. Sure, during the bonding process, they share a mana link. So this way, the dueler can send energy to the creature to help buff it up, to give it extra power for its attacks. But sadly, since Ryan had only been shoved into, or let's just say Gravenite was only shoved into Ryan's capable hands, he had yet to form a true link. But he had ideas. And he knew if it came down to it, he would be able to test them with this here Gravenite. Sadly enough, it was only a matter of time before they're, like most schools that are like it, would find the new kid, the one that does not belong there, and make his life a living hell. And so, this too happened to poor Ryan, a young man by the name of Simon, who picked on him, made fun of him, all of these things. Finally decided to duel him in the arena. And he made a bet with Ryan. If Ryan was able to, let's say, defeat Simon, he would give him whatever he wanted. But if Simon won, Ryan would have to leave the school. Ryan agreed. And so, on the dawn of the duel, Ryan went down to the stables and picked up Gravenite. As he was carrying it to the arena, he reviewed through the gauntlet Gravenite's battle history. Gravenite was nearly 200 years old. He knew Gravenites could live a great long time. But 200? Phew. And to make it crazier, yes, Gravenite had unique powers. He did have
gravitation, the graviton wave. He did have shock cannon and grand fortress. And from his levels, he was quite strong. But what could strength do at levels where his own mana capacity was next to zero? Ryan knew grey eyes typically meant the animal or battle companion was among the weakest of the casts, and they would most definitely run out of power very quickly. But he had a plan. A very good plan. Hopefully one that would work. On the day of the duel, Simon decided to use one of his prize beasts, a fire lance, a phoenix-like bird that was capable of soaring to the sky with the greatest ease, swooping down and incinerating an enemy. I believe Simon aims to turn that poor Ravenite into a puddle of liquid rock. Well, not to put a good plan on hold, what Simon failed to believe is young Ryan had spent most of his life reading every single book of these creatures and committing them to memory. He knew the one weakness that a fire lance had. The one weakness it was leery of was getting up close and personal with another combatant. While its speed and movability was quite well, it couldn't really match up close and personal. Well, as Ryan set forth his graviton, and Simon set forth his fire lance, everyone that was watching waited excitedly. Ryan used his gauntlet to summon Gravenite to the middle of the arena. The entire time, Simon laughing. You really want to use that pathetic of a duel companion? You really want to embarrass yourself right before I have you thrown out from this victory? The entire time Simon is boasting, there's Gravenite in the middle of the arena, its old eyes getting very upset. Not because he was being made fun of, but instead of thinking about others, you're only thinking about thinking about yourselves. Oh, and I see that one moved out. Oh well. When Ryan knew these weaknesses, he also knew that if any of his powers could easily overwhelm the defenses of Gravenite unless he was in fortress mode. But he also had a plan. He just wishes he had time to test it, to implement it. Just then, when the fire lance came down at him, Ryan quickly yelled at Gravenite, "Activate
gravity well. But I don't want you to activate gravity well. And as Gravenite did this, rocks began to lift up, very large ones right next to him. And as he stared at this, he was thinking, I wonder. And then he yelled at Gravenite again. Gravenite, start spinning your rocks around you in an axis. It began and it began happening more and more. The Gravenite's rocks were spinning around him and lifting him off the ground. Gravenite's eyes were wide, like, what in the hell is going on? This has never happened before. In 200 years, he had never seen another student attempt this. And again, he also wondered if this student was mad. Well, Simon was befuddled. He thought this would be easy win versus the Gravenite. A stationary target for his fire lance. Ha! The only downside now is Gravenite was floating. And so, without wasting a minute, Simon quickly yelled, Fire lance! Inferno blast! Point blank! And Fire lance flew into the air and swooped towards Gravenite. Nope. Quickly steps out of the way. Or Gravenite, as he's floating, gets a command from Ryan to say, Gravenite, fire shock cannon to your right. What? Gravenite kind of spins his head a little bit to the right to look at him from one of his corner of his eyes. He yells again, shoot your cannon to the right. And as it hears this, it quickly tries to comply. It fires the shock cannon to the right, forcing it to the left, and out of the range of the attacking battle companion, the fire lance. The announcer was then immediately blown away. The Gravenite used his shock cannon as a thruster to push away. How is that possible? And Ryan began to wiggle his hands from feet side to side to show Gravenite try rotating the bricks a little bit. Nope. His friend. Oh, this Gravenite was going through so much. And as he was continuing, more and more, Ryan would yell, Gravenite this way, Gravenite that way, shock cannon, shock cannon, shock cannon. Oh. Well, more and more, Simon kept getting madder and madder and madder. Not being able to land a blow, not being able to figure out why could he not hit this stupid Gravenite. It was a stationary target. Or, more or less, it had been. So, as Gravenite kept whooshing around, it kept picking up speed more and more and more. Until finally Ryan noticed something. If Gravenite moved his rocks side to side as it rotated, it would push him one way or the other. Well, Gravenite had not done this in many years. He was completely blown away by this. And like most of his kind, he knew that he would not find another master like this one. It had been in so many fights. Never once that relied on his strength, his combat capacity. It required him to stay still to get blown up or attacked by other student characters. Oh well. More and more Resonite respected the young man, realizing he was performing moves and abilities that was far above his childlike age. I'm getting a little tired there. You have to forgive me. It's been a long day at work and I'm running out of steam. Alright. More and more, as Gravenite is using the shock cannon, you could tell, I can't keep doing this. Gravenite is getting tired. And so he told Gravenite, try shifting the direction of your stones as you spin. And soon Gravenite did this. And surprisingly, since he was up to a certain speed, he could control it. He was able to bank left and right, flying forward with these rocks spinning all around him. He finally, at one moment, came right up to the fire lance, face to face. And as if to say, well, look who can fly now, Gravenite's eyebrows kind of went dung 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 dung. A kind of a silent way of saying, fuck you, birdie, I can fly now. But this time, Firelance had had enough. It screamed, and its body began to glow red. Simon yelled, finally, time for the finisher. He began to load his last bit of power into what his companion could do. In return, Graviton just simply kept zipping around, flying away and away and away. Until finally, Ryan said, Graviton, come here, quickly. Graviton quickly zipped over to Orion, began a slow but quick orbit. While Ryan tried to explain the plan, but he couldn't. And he just looked at Ryan, like, sorry, I can't tell you what I need you to do. We don't have the link. At that moment, Graviton, Gravenite immediately knew what to do. And that same familiar presence, as if a hand reaching out for you to grab it, appeared. Especially in front of Ryan, in the middle of this duel. He reached up, took the hand, and then he heard the voice. About time you did something right. It is time for us to fight. As he looked at Gravenite, this old voice, a voice older than most you'd imagine, roughly as if rocks were being crushed together. Well, Well, as Gravenite zipped around and finally had the link ability, Ryan knew there was one thing he wanted to do. Ryan focused everything he had. And then he yelled at Gravenite to spin faster over the rocks. He was going to basically ram something in the air. But when her brother was just weak enough that King I'm getting tired. And Gravenite, now with the link, was able to receive instructions on the fly. And then, as if to send a power up, Gravenite did the unthinkable. He began the charge. His flashlight.
one quick shot. Well, we're getting tired. So Gravenite zipped around the arena the entire time Firelance is trying to hit it again and again. So Graviton banks high up, steals around, and then Simon yells to Firelance, use your best ability. Use Scorching Spear. And so, I believe one of my friends have joined. It sailed up, raining right at Gravenite, to pierce it, to run right through it. Graviton didn't have much power left. He could feel its strength waning. And then, with all of his strength, Ryan forced all of his energy into Gravenite, forcing it to change, to take on more energy than it could possibly have. And then, Gravenite could hear the thoughts of his master in the back of his head said, aim away, shoot from behind and aim away. What the heck was that? So, as Gravenite and Firelance were coming right at each other, speed increasing for both, Ryan yelled through his mind the link to Gravenite. Gravenite, Grand Fortress. And Gravenite deployed its armor, encasing its body almost like it was putting on an armored helmet. As if, so, Writer, welcome! Oh, you didn't get the notification? I'm sorry, my friend. And I'm also sorry because pretty soon I will be punching out once I finish the story. I am so sorry. But I will tell you this much. I will begin again Thursday night, right around 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I tried to go Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. The only reason I didn't stream Saturday or last Saturday, because my body was hurting. My stomach was not well, and I did not want to play Will the Big Tinny Boy Crap Himself. Oh. And I gotta work on my armor a little bit. Well, as Gravenite and Firelance were coming towards each other, Gravenite quickly engaged its best ability, Grand Fortress. Sheets of rock began to encase around it, until it looked like it was wearing a rocky helmet with a visor where Gravenite's gray eyes forced through. And then upon impact, there was a giant explosion. On one area, Firelance was thrown away, smacked against one of the pillars, and fell to the ground. On another, Gravenite was shot down to the ground and made an impact, a crater. The dust was still settling while the referee was trying to see who had won. Who could be the victor? And slowly, Ryan reached out to his weak connection with Gravenite. Please, wake up. Please get better. I know you are not truly my battle companion, but I wish you would be. You do not deserve to be left and forgotten about. You do not deserve to be left in a stall and only used as a punching bag by other trainers. Nice rain sounds. Actually, Soul Rider? That is not a rain. That is a hot pot. Yeah, pretty cool, huh? Oh, by the way, since I know you're on quest, and I do sometimes throw out... Yeah, son of a bitch! Since I do try to throw out some recommendations, when I'm done with the story, I will tell you the world I'm in. Well, as Rain was hoping, pouring more and more mana into Gravenite, something strange happened. From the smoking crater came a sound. A low but discerning laugh. And he was wondering what was going on with Gravenite. Why was he making these sounds? And so he saw a shape covered in smoke slowly begin floating out of the crater and moving forward, as if the dust and everything else was being contained to Gravenite's gravity field. But most alarming wasn't that the shape was wrong, or was there were 2 points of light emitting from the center of it. 2 glowing green orbs. And as the smoke had finally cleared away and the dust surrounding Gravenite released, there floated Gravenite, his spinning rocks still around him, 1/2 of his grand fortress remaining, except his old gray eyes were no longer gray. They had turned an emerald green. What in the hell? And as they looked over at where Simon's fire lance was, when its smoke cleared, the bird was on the ground out cold. And with that, Ryan had won. Ryan had won his first battle. So had Gravenite. And on top of that, changes had begun on this strange creature too. And well, sadly, for now, that will have to be the end of that story. Although, I will return to it. Because this one is one of those stories that you have to have chapters for. One of these stories that you have to have many, many more for it. Because, like all good stories, there is never truly the end. There is only you waiting for the next one to begin. And with that, my beans, I'm running out of steam, and I'm running out of time. Alright. Yes, no one expects... It's like the hot spot Spanish Inquisition. No one expects it. Alright. Well, to put it mildly, the story is this. Ryan was a young boy. He once got sent, kind of like, think of it like Pokemon, Digimon, something like that. Except he was sent to an academy. Well, he comes from very poor standings. His family, of course, didn't have the best money. He had managed to go. It was the last wish of his mother and father upon that his uncle sent him here. Of course, being of a poor standings, he was also the outcast for many of the people there. The downside is, most nobles or most of the higher caste already were given a battle companion. He had none. So the beastmaster for the stables at the school assigned him the only one they really had in stock, had there. One that had been there for the school for many, many years. A very old and very beat up old battle companion by the name of Gravenite. Imagine a little boulder or rock with a face on it, 2 eyes and a pair of tusks. It can blink, it can do things, but it can't really move on its own. It has 3 abilities: Graviton Wave, or Gravity Wave, Shock Cannon, and finally Grand Fortress, its ultimate trump card. Well, like most young people that get sent to a private school that isn't of the certain cusp, he was challenged by a relation, a fellow classmate. And of course, this fellow classmate made the mistake not realizing, 1, skill issue, and 2, sometimes it requires someone to think outside of the box to bring about a victory. All right. And of course, using limited tools can sometimes show you how to find a solution. And Ryan was no substitute. He used the Graviton's abilities to the best. You're welcome. Well, since I'm running out of steam and I'm tired, let us find someone to take you to. Let me find someplace. You know what? I'm going to be mischievous. I'm going to be a stinker. Because I know exactly where I'm going to take you. And to who you'll be dropped off with. Well, let us begin the raid. But again, it will be an offline raid. Where I'm sending you is a friend. And they do stream tomorrow. And I hope you do catch their stream. They do stream about 12-ish Eastern Standard Time. Do any of your friends give story ideas? Sometimes they do, but most I try to think of while I'm at work, or I draw inspiration from other sources. Like, there's one channel on YouTube I like watching because it has great stories, because they provide what-ifs. Like, what if Kratos ended up in the DC universe? We may have to have that as maybe a chat one night. But, yes, hello Martian. Hello Lurker. Yes, don't worry. Soon I will finish up, and soon I will rest. Before everyone goes, the simple message for everyone to type in is this. That is it. Simple, sweet, easy. The raid message is simply, Tanky Raid! So, are you all ready? Are you ready to begin to see what mischief we can get up to?